What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. We are back here once again, and you all already know what time it is. It is time to bust that rhyme. It is time to talk about some stuff. And what is the stuff that we are going to be talking about today? Well, 1 second. I think you know. I think you know what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get into what we're going to be talking about today, one thing is for certain, and three things are for sure when you see me in front of TV. Number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats, not none of that static. And number three, perhaps the most important number of them all, number three. Want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. You may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P, does one keep their Lions news pragmatic? It's very simple. It's easy. I'll tell you, I don't keep information from you. You know me. You know how I do it. Smash like button, subscribe, share with your peoples. And once you've done those things, and in any order you've done them in, you've indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic. And since we're talking about your peoples, since sharing is care, once you've shared this with your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, sisters, your cousins, your uncles, your brothers, your fathers, sisters, your mothers, your brothers, you name it, indeed shared all those people. Let me know how the stream is right now. Let me know if it's choppy. Let me know anything. I'm out here in Tesla Studios. I've had to make a shift from my normal studios, and I'm shifting into another studio later today, but I didn't have time to shift there by the time I was going live. So hopefully tomorrow we will be back up live and in full effect from an indoor, well, I mean, we're indoors because I'm in the car, but you know what I'm saying, indoor studio. But what up though, everybody in the chat? What up though, Pierce Sargent? What up though, Tactical Sport? What up though, Herb Gotti? What up though, Shift says the AG Syndicate better have been watching The More Things Stay the Same, and we're gonna get to that. It showed me stuff Ignatius probably won't do. Hopefully we'll get to that. We'll get to that. What up though, my eyes told me that the Lions defense isn't good enough to win the Super Bowl. That's what my eyes told me. Are my eyes lying? Don't trust my lion eyes. That's what they say. What up though, Herb Gotti? Little choppy. Okay. Yeah, we like, hopefully we will be able to fix that tomorrow. Okay, we can work with it. All right. Cool. Ignatius hates pass rush, loves DDI. All right. Before I get into that, I have an interesting article. The article comes from someone in the national media. Well, the article doesn't come from someone in the national media. Basically, what we're saying in this article comes from somebody in the national media. Okay, let's get to it. It says, radio host takes dig at NFL coaches like Lions Dan Campbell. This is an article by your boy John Macaroon, Detroit Lions on SI. All right. So he says the Seattle Seahawks were able to dispose of the New England Patriots in a game that highlighted defense still does indeed win championships. Obviously, that was the first takeaway. I saw I think it was Woodward Sports had a tweet out there, and they said after watching this Super Bowl, how far away are the Detroit Lions from being able to win one? And surprisingly, and I shouldn't say surprisingly, but there were a lot of people, oh, we're not far at all. And they weren't watching the same game I was watching, which is probably why they weren't watching it with me and with us. However, we will get to that. All right. Mad Dog Sports Serum XM radio host Damon Amendolara seemed to take a dig at aggressive NFL coaches like Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions and Sean Payton of the Denver Broncos. When he posted comments on social media, according to Amendolara, this Super Bowl win by Mike McDonald is for all the overcaffeinated coaches who can't help but go for it on fourth down and find field goals and level-headed game management so reprehensible. Now, I can claim Mike McDonald if I want to, because I found out last night that he went to the same high school as me. One of the high schools I went to in Georgia, Centennial High School in Roswell, Georgia. I went there for like a semester. Well, no, it wasn't a semester. It was a year. It was the year because I played football. So I did the entire football season. And then I moved to another spot somewhere after the football season. But Mike McDonald was on that team. Obviously, he's a little bit younger than me. So I got him about 5 years. So he wasn't there at the same time as me, but shout out to him, I guess. Like I said yesterday, I didn't want to see no joy. I didn't want to see anything with the Seahawks. But that's neither here nor there. The Seahawks and the people that root for the Seahawks are no longer my problem. So it is what it is. All right. So I said the Seahawks were able to steadily build their lead against the Patriots in the first half by electing to kick field goals. There was certainly added confidence that taking the points would be beneficial, as the NFC West squad featured one of the top defenses in the National Football League. That's one of the criticisms that I think most people have had about Dan Campbell. It's not the fact that you are aggressive and you go for it on fourth down. It's the fact that your defense is ass cheeks. And because you have an ass cheeks defense, your confidence in the defense is misplaced. We'll get into that. I want to finish the article before I get into all those things. But that's one of the first places that I want to go with it, because that goes into something that I've been saying a lot. But we'll get into that. All right. So Campbell and others have challenged the notion that teams should simply punt or kick field goals on fourth down. Detroit has been consistently among the most aggressive teams in the National Football League, opting to go for it on fourth down at an okay, that does say does that say accelerated? Yes. All right. At an accelerated rate. Unfortunately, Campbell and his decisions to gamble did not pay off as often in 2025, resulting in the defense being tasked with attempting to limit the damage. Seattle headman Mike McDonald credited the impact of veteran coach Leslie Frazier on the team's defense and their success this season. Frazier previously served as head coach of the Buffalo Bills and has spent many years as a defensive coordinator in the league. McDonald made sure to add Frazier to his staff as soon as he accepted the job last offseason. The 66-year-old served as an assistant coach on the Seahawks staff this season. We would not be having this press conference right now if Leslie wasn't a Seahawk, McDonald said. He was the first person I called when I got the job. Hopefully, I made it very clear to him that we needed him. He's just a great compliment to my skill set, to my personality. He's such a great connector with the players. He's such a great communicator. He calls our bluff when we're full of crap on defense, when we do stupid stuff with game planning, McDonald added, which happens probably more than we want. He's been tremendous. Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. We're going to unpack some things. Let me get to your comments before I unpack this stuff. Said, here's the big question. If Devin Witherspoon was there at 6, do we still have Gibbs? No, because Okay, I can't answer that question truthfully because I don't know the truth. I was told that Devin Witherspoon was the target at 6. I was told that they wanted Devin Witherspoon. That's what I was told. But in that same draft, that you could not get Devin Witherspoon at 6, you were totally content with taking Jack Campbell at 18 right after Christian Gonzalez went at 17. Jack Campbell is a stud. He's an all-pro linebacker, first team all-pro. I'm not taking anything away from Jack Campbell. I'm not saying Jack Campbell was a bad pick. I'm not saying I'm not happy to have Jack Campbell. This in no way, shape, form, or fashion has anything to do with Jack Campbell. This has to do with someone claiming to be a DB snob and being happy that you allowed Christian Gonzalez to go. Right? It was, okay, yep, Jack Campbell in the war room. Because remember, recently I went back through all of those inside the den situations. Jack Campbell, all right. You know, hold on. Let me take this call right quick. 1 second. All right. It's important to call. All right. So again, Jack Campbell, awesome, great, no problem. But it's Jack Campbell. Christian Gonzalez was right there, bro. Christian Gonzalez balled his ass off. I think it was Tactical that said that basically the game would have been over a long time ago if it wasn't for Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez was doing everything. Christian Gonzalez, you couldn't get a ball in on Christian Gonzalez. My man had his hand on so many balls, pause, you'd have thought he was at a Diddy party. Pause. Okay. You know what I'm saying? He had everything going that game. I mean, he had the smile on his face because he was like, oh, you thought you could get me? Please, bro. He said, you too little. That's what he was saying to Sam Darnold with that smile on his face. You too little. Oh, you thought you was gonna fit it in down here? Nah, player. Not today. Not today. Okay. Ain't nobody got time for that. Anyway, so this is what Christian Gonzalez was bringing to the table, and you could have had him. The backfield of Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis could have been on your team still this year. They definitely would have been on your team last year. Okay. You still have Jahmyr Gibbs. You just don't have Jack Campbell. And Jack Campbell's awesome. And Jack Campbell is one of the guys that you need. But you need one of Derek Barnes or Alex Anzalone in the modern defense. And you don't need both of them. right? So the fact that you re-signed, you extended Derek Barnes when you did, you gave him that deal. Maybe that wasn't the greatest deal that you should have done, because this scheme is really outdated, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. All right. Yeah, same draft. Right. Um, I still think that we're about 2 seasons away. Can it be done in one off season? It can be. We'll talk about it. Appreciate you, Mr. Detroit City. If Ignatius is here and extended, I say 3. But here's the problem with that. We're assuming, and there's some things that I heard yesterday. Shout out to Lions Live 365. I was about to reach out to him. I want to have him on the show because he's got some interesting points about how he feels about Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and their dynamic. And I don't want to steal his thunder, and I don't want to act like I got it. Like I said it myself. I did have something similar to say when I was talking about the In the Den episodes that I saw, and everybody was in lockstep. But he takes it a step further. So like I said, I'll wait for that, and I'll wait to once I reach out to him. I've had a very hectic. Yesterday was extremely hectic. It was crazy. So yeah, once I reach out to him, try to get him on the show and everything, I'll let him talk about it. But yeah, this defense, this scheme, it needs to change. But the point I was making is, if we're saying 3 seasons, well, we don't know what's going to happen in 3 seasons. This team may look completely different in 3 seasons. No, not completely, as far as your cornerstones are here. The 9 guys that you invested $1 billion in, they're here. They're going to be here. That's not the issue. But Kirby Joseph, we heard from Dr. Chow, and he said what he said about his knee, and you'll be lucky if you get any time out of him from these next 2 years. And then of course there's an out in the contract at the end of this coming season, which means Kirby might not be here in 2027. You know what I mean? You want him to be, and depending on his knee, if he is on the team, it might be the last year for Brad and Dan, or Brad, right? Because it may just be time to cut bait. And if they do what they always do and give people too much time and move on from people far too late, it might cost them their jobs. And not that they're going to be fired, but 2027 is their last year. So if there's no extension, then you're looking for a new GM or a new head coach, or both. But it just depends. A lot of things have to go wrong for that to happen. But that's what I mean. Like, some of the guys, we don't know what's going to happen with Brian Branch. Sam Laporta, we think he's going to come back and be fine. And it's a back injury. It's tricky. So we don't know if we have 3 years. And then what is the spending going to be? Shout out to the heavyweights. They said basically the difference between the owner of the Seahawks because it was Paul Allen. So I guess it's his daughter or his wife took over. She's 10 times richer than Sheila. I forget which spot she's in, and she's like the number 6 richest owner. She's literally 10 times richer. She's got 20 billion. Sheila's got 2. Which is why I've been telling you guys, Sheila needs to infuse some cash. So selling stake in the team, not controlling interest, selling some shares, selling some stock to get other billionaires in here. You can keep it in the Ford family. You can keep all that stuff. You don't have to sell your father's legacy. You don't have to compromise any of that stuff. Keep it all. Right? All you need to keep is 51% of the team to have a controlling interest. Okay? And I think everybody knows what a controlling interest is, but for those who may not know, you have control if you have 51% of a team. If you have 51% of a business, if it's a partnership, it's not 50-50. The person that has 51% is in control. The person who has 49% is not in control. Okay, so the buck stops with the 51% person. That's pretty much what that means. So this is why I say that Sheila just needs to go ahead and do that. Okay. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. If I could make only one move for the Detroit Lions, it would be to fire Melvin, period. I feel you. But like I said, once I have Lions Live 365 on the show, hopefully, might see some things a little bit differently. We'll see. The offense is fine if we can fix the O-line. The defense is about 2 years and a new scheme away. What if we just got a competent edge rusher on the other side of Hutch? Maybe AQM is competent, right? Maybe he's competent. Maybe he gets schemed out of games. So let's say AQM was schemed out of games, right? Because what was the problem? Oh, he's too little. He doesn't set the edge. Whatever. So what we would do in response to that is to take him off the field and put Lacey at defensive end because he's 300 pounds. Or Aleem McNeil at defensive end because he's damn near 300 pounds. He might still be over 300 pounds. I don't know if he dropped to 290 something or not. But that was our answer to, hey, they're running the football on us, or they're going too tight, or they're going 3 tights, or they're going jumbo. Our answer was, well, AQM is too small, so we'll put the big edge. The answer was not, hey, let's run nickelback blitz and let's drop AQM off the line and take out one of Derek Barnes or Alex Anzalone. Hello, Derek Barnes. So now you've got one of your best edge rushers. He's now a stand-up rusher, right? And then you take a nickel blitz off the same side. They can't block all the pressure coming. So somebody's going to be free. We saw this yesterday in the Super Bowl. So many free rushers to Drake May. Drake May yesterday, I'm glad he didn't win the MVP. Matthew Stafford won the MVP. Whatever. Y'all know how I feel about Matthew Stafford. Drake May looked ridiculous yesterday. He looked ridiculous and atrocious. Mike Vrabel, I don't know how many times he spoke to him in the game, but obviously we're not on the sideline, so we don't know what was going on. But there was an exchange in the fourth quarter or late third quarter. I don't remember. I think it was the fourth quarter, the beginning of the fourth quarter, where Mike Vrabel had to go over to Drake May and calm him down and reassure him and so on and so forth. And that's fine. That's what a good coach is supposed to do. Where was that in the first quarter? Because after drive number one that stalled out without points, Drake May looked like hot garbage. Drake May looked indecisive. He looked like he was taking sacks. He got sacked 6 or 7 times. Okay. And he looked like he was just taking them. Like, I see the rush coming. Let me just put my hand in the back of my center who's getting pushed back and just go down. And what happened to your scrambling ability? Because they called him what? The best scrambling quarterback in the league per the metrics. Right? So I guess he picked up the most yards with his feet. And obviously it would have been Lamar, but Lamar like missed 7 games due to injury. Wasn't Josh Allen, it was Drake May. So what happened to all that? They could have used Hendon Hooker at that point, because Hendon Hooker, we know one thing Hendon Hooker wasn't afraid to do, and that was run the football. He was afraid to stand in the pocket. He was afraid to scan the field and read the defense. He was afraid to do all that, but he was not afraid to tuck it and run. He had the happiest feet of any quarterback that I've seen in recent years. Oh, his feet were so happy. He should have been in the movie. Happy feet. So the defense was outstanding from Seattle, but so was the defense from the Patriots. The difference between the Patriots defense and the Seattle defense is that Sam Darnold was escaping the rush. He was slippery. Pause. So many times I saw him in the clutches and in the grasp, and he should have been sacked. He should have been sacked 7 times. But they couldn't corral him because he was elusive and he was getting out of the pocket and getting out of the way and throwing on the run and all this stuff.
We're going to get into a little bit more of a...
Right?
Hello,
I need to change that.
Time is 12:30 p.m.
I need to change that.
Have a good one.
Anyway, the time for the alarm. But Sam Darnold was making plays. He was elusive, and Drake May was just collapsing under the rush. Drake May had a few runs, but I would say Drake May, the moment was too big for him, as we said yesterday. Let me get to some more of your comments. Make that call, Dan. Oh, Don. Was that Dan? No, it's Dan. Okay, yeah. Over here look like that. That's also what doesn't make sense to me. Gonzo not being on the board. I was told that Jared Goff can win a Super Bowl just because Sam Darnold. That's a conversation for another day. Are we going to have that conversation? If Witherspoon was on the board, then Gonzalez was on the board. It doesn't make sense to have one without the other. You may like one over the other, but they are pretty interchangeable at that time. So you're saying it doesn't make sense to not get one of them? Is that what you're saying? I wanted Joey Porter Jr. He fell in the late 20s. Listen, Brad Holmes is not an excellent evaluator of defense of DB talent. He calls himself a DB snob. How? Listen, I've been a defender of Terrion Arnold, and I will continue to defend him because I can see that he has the skill set. I can see he has the ability. I can see he has the technique. I can see it all there. Yes, he has to, and he's done better with being less handsy and less tuggy and holdy. And obviously, the referees adjusted slightly to the way that he plays and things of this nature. The fact that he could breathe on a wide receiver in his rookie year and get flagged was ridiculous. There were a lot of flags that shouldn't have been thrown. We're just gonna keep it a buck on that one. Yeah, so not having one of them is wild, especially because you needed DBs. So yeah, it was ridiculous. What up though, Brenda Witt? A pick or two before Laporta. Yeah. Get rid of both Anzo and Barnes. Well, I mean, they're getting rid of Anzo by not paying him because his contract is up. But Barnes is a situation where maybe you package him on draft night. But again, so here's the Leslie Frazier situation. Leslie Frazier came in and called the coaches on their BS, called the defense on their BS, all this other stuff. Who does that for Dan? Who does that for Dan? Because Derek Barnes is there because Kelvin Shepard said it was a non-negotiable. He had to have Derek Barnes, just like for whatever reason he had to have Tyler Williams. Not an edge. He was in the draft room, in the war, not the draft room. When they met Tyleek at the facility, when he came to Allen Park after being drafted, Kelvin Shepard was like, yeah, I just had to have you. Why? Why him specifically? Why didn't you have to have an end? This is part of like we blame Brad for a lot. And I'm not going to absolve him of anything. There are signs pointing at other people. If Kelvin Shepard was lobbying for Tyleek Williams over edge rushers, and our problem was edge rushers, that's ridiculous. Remember when Joe Lombardi got in Martin Mayhew's ear and told him that Eric Ebron was the missing piece? That was what was going to complete his offense and make it Saints 2.0. That was a coordinator that got in the GM's ear. Maybe Shep's doing the same thing. As a general manager, it really isn't your job to fall in love with players and pick the players you want. It's your job to give your coaches and your coaching staff the best players to deal with, right? The best roster gets put together, right? It's funny to me how you look at the Seahawks, and I said this last night. I said, how did you let this team build a whole nother defense that has a nickname? How did you let this team go from the Legion of Boom being in a couple Super Bowls to what, 10 years later? Now they've got the dark side and they're in a Super Bowl. And if they stay together, are going to be the Super Bowl favorites for next year. And if you don't solve them, figure out how to beat that defense, they will win the Super Bowl next year again, back to back. How do you let this team build a defense like that after having one before? And then you have teams like the Detroit Lions who can't figure out what they want to do. Okay, what's your identity? Well, we want our identity to be offense. It's crazy. It's crazy. Guys, listen to this. We are a team based on grit. Our defense is ass. How does that make sense? When you hear grit, do you think of offense or defense? You don't think of a offensive grit, get it out the mud grit. The only thing that you could think about with that situation would be smash mouth football. And I guess they could say grit for the first couple of years or first few years because we really were playing smash mouth football. We really did run it down your throat. Anybody remember Monty in the LA game where we just ran it down their throat with David Montgomery all the way to the end zone in overtime? We remember that, right? So maybe that's what they mean by grit. Smash mouth football. Damn, defense be damned. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Still trying to get to y'all comments. Yeah, we could have traded up 2 spots. Easy. Laporta is not worth it. What up though, Drake Cruising? Okay. That's good, man. Get up, get clean and sober. I'm rooting for you, man. Laporta by himself, no, but Gibbs and Laporta is hard to give up for me. Yeah, I can feel that. Melvin trades bag of picks for Tesla and trades up for others, but solid guys like Joey Porter Jr., Jackson Powers Johnson types fall every draft, and Melvin turns the other way. That is factual. And then you probably don't have the ammo to get Branch at that point. Right. Don't play possum, kangaroo, sibling shuttle. All good, bro. All good. We could have won Super Bowl if Melvin didn't mess up picks. We had guys fall in every draft at positions of need, and he ignored and chose broken parts and projects. I did again, and that's something I will never understand. But if you go back to, and this is why I kind of look at Dan a little bit sideways as well, give him the side eye, because if you go back to the situation where Brad Holmes said me and Dad had such a conviction about Broderick. Why? Why were you convicted about Broderick? You should have been convicted for robbery because you robbed this franchise of the ability to compete with that guy. Personally, I'm more worried about Brock Wright and his neck. So not to sound callous, but I would think that Brock Wright is a little bit more replaceable than Sam Laporta. So we have the best injured safety duo in the league. I'm all in on drafting AJ Hawkey, Kirby clone. Speaking of the draft, guys, if you have not gone to the mockmachine.com, please go. Please sign up. It's free to sign up. Try out the GM mode, man. Put your GM hat on and do what you got to do. Sheila Fordham is worth $2 billion. Wow. Yes. See, I'm way behind on y'all comments. Defense. That's what you saw. Yep. Lions just got to find a way to keep their core healthy in December and January. Yeah, and get a couple more pieces. Melvin is a joke show until he actually makes moves for us to win now. I'd be willing to send money from my paycheck every week to get him out of town. I would not. Still need a cornerback, DT, safety, and linebacker, although I think we will need to run nickel. In that case, we need 2 safeties. And yeah, we should be running nickel. 2 great defenses, 1 average offense, and 1 bad offense. That's what your eyes told you, and they were correct. Oh, Don, I was saying, Dan, make the call for Yo, yeah. I don't think you're going to make the call for Leslie Frazier. I don't think he's leaving unless we're going to try to trade him. They won't re-sign K9. I'm not worried about Seattle. Screw them. They lose their OC and K9. Watch them fall hard. Yeah, isn't it Clint Kubiak? Isn't he taking one of those jobs, or maybe he didn't? When I think of grit, I think of sandpaper. When I think of grit, I think of Uncle Ben. Smash Mouth football used to be about the ground game. Right, and we did have that before. Smash Mouth went away when Frank left. That's true. Yeah, our defense is nothing but Hutch, 2 great safeties when healthy, and a bunch of unhealthy players and a bunch of inconsistent players. Facts. That was me. The fix was in is what my eyes saw. I saw one defense be better than the other and one not better than the other. I think the defenses on the field were very comparable. It's just that one team had Drake May, who looked like he was seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold used to. You know, Sam Darnold beat the allegations, bro. So shout out to him. Shout out to Sam Darnold and beating the allegations. All right. Now that I've gotten caught up on your comments, Patriots were non-competitive NPC. May was hurt. How? May is hurt. Well, he wasn't hurt yesterday. The aggression thing that we're talking about, that was the first part of that article. At some point in time, like I said, I'm not able to understand the aggression of Dan Campbell with this type of defense that we have. And I know they step up here and there, but he's been doing that from a long time ago, since we didn't have any semblance of a defense. And he was saying, I trust our guys. Why do you have so much trust in these players? This is the thing that we have to why is there so much trust in players that don't perform? Why is that? The same way that we expect practice squad players to step up and do the things that our number one players are able to do. It doesn't make sense. Dan Campbell may be a little bit too emotional. He may be trying to manifest things, which again, you can have your opinions. But if manifestation was something that everybody could do, then there wouldn't be. I mean, if all you got to do is think it and it's there wouldn't be any poor people. But I mean, you can't manifest a defense. You can't just think that Thomas Harper is as good as Kirby Joseph and it be true. You can't just think that Daniel Thomas can do the same things that Brian Branch can do and it's true. You can't. So that's the thing. Like, I don't understand what that is about. Define us. Non-participating characters in a video game, also non-playable characters. We got the conspiracy theory. Vegas won 99% of the prop bets except for Walker the third 70 yards rushing or under 70 yards rushing. Mike McDonald just put MCDC on the back burner. He did indeed. Oh my god, the Hornets! Come on, bro. So that's just the thing. Like we, it's the vibes, man. It's the vibes. You can't win on the vibes. You can't win on the vibes. You just can't. I don't. There's a lot that we have to change, bro. And that's why I think we're farther away from than people like to admit. You guys will admit it. There's a lot of Lions fans that won't admit how far away we are because the things that we do, there are some things that just don't make sense. Dan Campbell's a phenomenal coach, but also the vibes, you're not going to win on the vibes. Right? Brad Holmes may not be as good at drafting as we thought he was. He's good at it also, but you can't do the things that he's done as far as setting us back instead of setting us up, right? You got to set your team up, not back. And he didn't set us up for the future with the Broderick Martin picks and the, so on and so forth. So this is the thing that I'm saying. Like, it's okay to pick apart what your team does. And until they win a Super Bowl, that's what we should do. We should pick apart the things that they do that don't work, that they continue to do, and continue to pick them apart because they don't work. Again, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. What did you think was going to happen by signing Marcus Davenport? Right? One thing is, and this is, I'll say this, and I'm directly attributing this to Lions Live 365. He said he thinks Marcus Davenport is here because of Dan Campbell and not Brad Holmes. The reason he said this, he said because Brad Holmes had no prior relationship to Marcus Davenport. But you know who did have a prior relationship? Dan Campbell had a relationship with Marcus Davenport because they were in New Orleans together. I'm just saying. So, what can we do to get there? The Max Crosby thing is not going to go away until a move happens. There was someone who reported, Pro Football Talk reported that an anonymous GM said that Max Crosby had a conversation with Tom Brady, and he told Tom Brady that he had played his last game as a Las Vegas Raider. Whether that's true or not, again, we played the clip from Colin Cowherd. He had all the opportunities in the world to say he was a Raider for life, Raider Nation, blah, 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 blah. Okay? He didn't. He had all the time in the world. Colin Cowherd gave him a wide-ranging rope. You get on here and you spit for 3 minutes. And in those 3 minutes that he was talking, he never once said anything about the Raiders. He never once said anything about being committed to the Raiders. He never once said anything about his teammates. He never once said anything about the organization, right? Because before, he was quick to come out and say, Raider for life, Raider Nation for life, blah, 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 blah. But what changed? What's different? He talked about being vocal about, like, who should be the coach. That's not what we asked you. We asked you about being done with the Raiders. And the silence on that was deafening. The silence was deafening. So, Max Crosby is a person, and I've broken down the contract and how we could get him. So you need to do that. The scheme needs to change. We need to shift to what other defenses that are dominant in the NFL are doing, which is playing a lot of nickel. We need to change our mindset on what we think works. Because right now, what you're doing is you're getting to the dance. And you didn't even get to the dance this year. But you're getting to the dance and you're forgetting your dancing shoes. So there needs to be a philosophy shift. You need to get in and get Max Crosby. You need to change the defensive scheme. Another thing about the Leslie Frazier thing. Mike McDaniel is 38 years old. Mike McDonald is 38 years old. He and Shep are similar ages. They might be the same age. Mike McDonald is a head coach, and the first call that he made was to Leslie Frazier. He said, I need you to come in here for me. Shep has that person, apparently. His spotter, I don't even remember his name, because he wasn't spotting too many things this season. So if a guy who's a head coach knows that he needs a quality veteran, a guy who was a head coach before, a guy who's been a defensive coordinator forever. He knows that that guy can bring value to me and my team and my staff. Then why don't we know the same thing about Kelvin Shepard? Why don't we bring in a senior defensive assistant, a senior defensive analyst, a senior defensive anything to help him out? The guy that was supposed to be watching his blind spots fell asleep. He wasn't that guy. So how do we, change it? How do we do it? All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to your comments, but before I do that, you know what we do on this show, boy. We flow, boy. No, I'm just playing. Mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they reading you? Cynics, niggas. Mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Basket it. Get your mailbag questions in while I read through these comments. And we'll see what we got. Let's see. The kicker was robbed of the MVP by someone who didn't score a point. I don't even know who the MVP was. I'm gonna be honest with you. Somebody tell me who the MVP was. And from someone who didn't score a point, I'm thinking is Kenneth Walker. Here's Gumby. Imagine that Super Bowl victory by taking the points at every opportunity. Facts. Oh my goodness. K9 is a Spartan dog. He still didn't score a point. Oh my goodness. Did K9 really get the MVP? Bro, I'm not I'm not reading any of that stuff, bro. That's crazy. Melvin is a punk. He won't even sign an AJ Espinosa or Joey Bosa for mid-money SMH. AJ Espinosa. I mean, he's got to do something, bro. It's not Halloween. What are we talking about? Max will be a perfect fit, but what about Nick Bosa? We want to not sign people who are always injured. We just talked about Marcus Davenport. Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa. No, that doesn't make any sense. Brent DeWitt, yes, I am. I am in Melbourne. Oh, it was K9. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Mailbag, how likely is Sheila Ford Hamp to have her people announce that the Penskes, the Illiches, or Dan Gilbert have bought into the Lions? Not very likely. I don't. When you're Jeffrey Lurie and you have multiple Super Bowls as an owner, and you do it, and you're already richer than Sheila, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to expect. I know you can do it because others have done it. Mark Cuban did it, but I think he sold his controlling interest, so he's not the principal owner anymore. But he still has stock in the team. So I don't know. It's not likely, but why is it not likely? That's the thing. What are we holding on to? Mailbag, how much of Jared Goff's current contract is going to get restructured to help the Lions acquire additional talent through free agency? I would say the whole base salary for this year needs to get restructured. That clears up like 60 something, 70, 60 something million in cap space, I think. So, if we want to get a Max Crosby in here, having a lot of money that's free and we freed up because we restructured. I mean, you're restructuring guys who you're expecting to be here. You're expecting Jared Goff to be here. You're expecting Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're expecting Penei Sewell and so on and so forth. So restructure them. Clear up the cap space. And just keep it moving. We don't need to be, you know what I mean, doing all that extra stuff. Mailbag, do you think Terrion Arnold watched the Super Bowl to study the corners on the NFL's biggest stage? Possibly. I don't think that Terrion's issues are anything skill based. I think Terrion's issue is not confidence, whatever. This year was year number 2 and he got injured. That's it. That was his situation. I think his confidence was growing. He was limiting the penalties, the personal foul penalties, the pass interference, all that stuff. Holding. He was eliminating a lot of that stuff. He just couldn't stay on the field. I think, didn't he hurt both shoulders or something? Bosa played 15 games this year, 14 last. Over that stigma. Which Bosa? Joey? Because it wasn't Nick. Nick was lost for the season. But if you go back to Joey Bosa's times injured, it's a lot of games. We did that like last offseason. We looked at it. Dude. The Illiches are not going to buy into the Lions. Hell, they don't want to pay Scooble. That's also facts. And neither are you, Jay Cruz. Oh my goodness. All right. If we don't have any more mailbag questions, I will go ahead and get out of here. Like I said, kind of moving into a new place. I'm actually at the new place now, outside, because I don't have anything in the house yet. So yeah. Hope Brad and Dan realized that when Sheila said evolve, it meant Shizer or get off the pot. Think they're both on notice. I would say Brad is more on notice than Dan. I think Sheila has an affinity for Dan. But who knows? Who knows? All right. I'm gonna go ahead and head on out and get some stuff taken care of. Once again, the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. We came to give you stats, none of that static. Whatever you do, keep your Lions news pragmatic. Appreciate you joining me in Tesla Studios. Again, if you have not gone to the mock machine.com, please do that. Please go to the mockmachine.com and let your imaginations run wild. See what you can do as far as getting the Lions back to prominence in one off season. Let's see what you got. I do have to. Yeah, I do have to make the ability to put reports in. Like, so what was your report? Who did you sign as a free agent? Who did you draft? All these other things, and we can. It's just like the mock draft stuff, but we'll be able to like, save it, screenshot it, whatever, and then we could talk about what we did in free agency, stuff like that. So that's the thing. All right, we're out of here, guys. Peace.